My name's Jeff Morgan. I'm the CFO of Brooks Memorial Hospital, and I was brought in when the CFO and the CEO were terminated. Some of the issues we got there, really the prior administration really hadn't done anything in about 20 years. Everything from business processes to equipment to physical plant hadn't been touched in 20 years. Especially when we start talking about, in a revenue cycle, for example. I couldn't tell the last time the charge master had been updated. Every claim was being touched manually before it went out the door. Not a very good use of collection agencies appropriate. I think a lot of easy stuff was going out the door that we should have collected. Cash not where it should be. Managed care contracts hadn't been looked at. The revenue cycle really needed a real overhaul. Well, first of all, you all came in and we met, and you all did an assessment, and that gave us an idea of where we were, and then you presented us with a project plan. Yeah, definitely. In fact, it was nice because it had a lot more detail in it than I had expected it to. My prior lives, I've had charge master reviews done, but a lot of it was done remotely. Okay, here, send us your charge master. We'll tune it up. We'll give it back to you. You're on your own. Mm-hmm. I experienced that in other places. Here, it was more of, we're going to come in, we're going to talk to people, we're going to do the report, then we're going to come back and talk to them again and show them what they need to do and assist where we need to help some people who maybe need to learn how to charge. Because you can give them the charge master and they can say, okay, thank you, and put it on the desk, and it's going to gather dust there.
Yes, right.
So that was one of the differences in the way that this project was approached, was it was a lot more hands-on. I don't think we made too many changes to it. I think, I remember looking at it, and I think we might have pushed a couple areas that I knew, for example, we knew in the ED we had some issues, we knew in OB we had some issues, and I think we kind of pointed you in the direction there, but quickly you guys ferreted out a few other areas that we hadn't even thought about. For example, in ambulatory surgery, for example, is an area that we had thought we had good controls there and good charging, but when your folks took a look, they said, no, we've got some gaps here that we need to close. Yeah, I think the folks were even more receptive than I thought they would be. Wow, this is great, someone's coming in to help me with a problem that I've been working on forever, and even though I may just be an adjustments clerk or something in the business office, I know this isn't the most efficient way to do this.
Right. But
no one's ever listened or wanted to change anything, so I've been here 35 years, and I spent the last 10 doing this exact same thing that's kind of inefficient. All the business office staff and people who do that kind of charging for a living definitely behind it. The place where it's always a little tricky is the nurses, but I think what was really helpful, especially in the ED, having Greg there, because Greg was an ER nurse, to go down there to show them for their charging. It wasn't, okay, here comes somebody from accounting who's going to tell us how to do our job.
Right.
But that's automatically people put up blocks and kind of like this. But to have somebody say, hey, look, I did your job. I used to do this, but I can show you how to do this, and here's why it's important, the money that we need to collect, and that it's not going to ruin your day and delay the care of your patients or anything. And, it's just something we really need to do. I think that's a definite plus that the people, like you said, have been on the front line. They've been there. They've done the jobs before. Yeah. They're not, a typical consultant who may have, some pedigrees or some degrees, excuse me, but maybe, not a lot of on-the-ground experience. And, I could read a bunch of HFMA magazines and read a couple of books and figure out what a charge master is, but until you've really done it and understand it, it's the old experience thing. And to have people that have that experience is definitely going to help make the project be successful. One of the biggest impacts definitely was it's kind of a two-prong. One is that you brought us Ed McCall, who is our interim PFS director, who has stepped into the shoes there and has done a fantastic job for us. It's been great that he's from your firm and knows everybody. So as the project has rolled out, we've looked at different solutions, a lot of different technology solutions for the business office. He's been right there as part of the team. So that's been great. I think the work that we've done in charging in the ED and that we're in the middle of doing in OB is really going to pay off, and ambulatory surgery also. I mean, those are just a couple places where being a CFO, it's all about the money sometimes, and just looking at the amount of charges that we're missing beforehand and that we're now capturing accurately is just fantastic. You're always going to have your ups and downs and this and that, and we did a lot of work with our unbilled, and between that and the extra charging, I think one month we saw, normally we collect about $3 million a month, that's about average, and I think in July we collected $3.6 million.
Wow.
And volumes were not significantly higher, drive that, so obviously it's got to come from somewhere else. It's got to come from the project, and you know, we've been tracking a lot of the charging, and I'm just starting to put together some reports for the board, the finance committee and the board, to show them, okay, here's the project we talked about, you know, here's the impact, and this is what this is the bang for your buck that you got. They're going to be when they see the results, they're going to be very pleased, because obviously, as you know, from any hospital, we're facing huge pressures. You know, reimbursements going down, costs going up. This is all found money. This is all free money, money that we should have been collecting before. But hey, at least we found it. We've got it now, and really goes right to the bottom line. And we desperately need it, being, you know, a small acute care hospital. You know, I don't hear a lot of feedback. I hear some more from the VP team that I work with. Probably the people I've talked to the most, and you know, because they've been very pleased, very, you know, praising, you know, the results and the way the project's gone, and what we've looked at, and what we're working on. Just the style of the people. You know, it's been a very low key, low pressure type project. I've been in other projects where there's just a lot of pressure. Excuse me, with some artificial timelines and things that are just not doable. You know, try to ram, you know, the square peg in the round hole. But the other VPs have been very complimentary. We've been looking at our collection agencies, making some decisions there. Also, as I mentioned before, technology was something the hospital had just refused to invest in patently before I got there. And we're looking at bringing in some new technology and some new vendors. And you know, RCS has been really helpful with saying, here's some people we've used in the past. They're pretty good. Let's give you a couple. You can pick which one you like. But this is who we're recommending, who we've seen. And as you know, being in this business, there are a million vendors out there. There's a million solutions out there. And it's very comforting to have someone that you can trust say, here's 2 or 3 that we've worked with. Pick one of the 3, you'll be happy with any one of them. I like how the project is structured. I like the project plan a lot myself. I like to go through that. I like how everything is detailed. You know, it's done by functional area. We do track the hours at the bottom, so we always have a good feel of where in the project we are. We're at 76% or 50% of the hours that we've budgeted. We've got one place where we're going to have to add hours because you all found something that definitely is worth the hours we need to put in. OB, for example, is the place that, you know, you found that, wow, we're going to have to spend some extra time there, but well worth our buck to do it. But I really like the project plan and the reports. Yeah, I think in summary, I think, you know, one of the points that I think is really important in this project, I think that's really been a big help, is the fact that you know, you've collected in your firm people who have done this work before and have been on the front lines. They've been patient accounts managers, they've been PFS managers, you know, they worked in medical records, patient access, case management. They're people with clinical backgrounds. I mean, so much of that is I think is a real key to the success of the project. There are other firms out there that have, I'm going to use the generic term, consultants. You know, you know, bring in 10 people with MBAs and CPAs, you know, is not the best for this type project, and I think that's not what Brooks needed. Probably the thing that's held us up, and it's not really anybody's fault, is once you identify the technological solution, being able to get it implemented, because it has to go through IT, and as you know, all IT departments are strained to the edge with having enough staff to get that stuff in. So it's a question of how fast can we get some of these new technical solutions in, and that's more on the hospital than on RCS. You know, we've done stuff really all around. The stuff I tend to pay attention to is the stuff with the dollars on it. Yes. That's the piece that sticks in my mind the most. But I know we've had significant issues, or improvements rather, in charging and charge collection. But we are doing an awful lot with access, which, as you know, is the front door. That's the place you got to get the information up front correctly, and being able to provide a service to our patients with a price estimator, and all these tools that a lot of hospitals have now that Brooks didn't have. But even in PFS, the way that they were doing, the way that the collectors were working was they'd get an age trial balance that printed out on the last day of the month, and that's what they used to work off for the next month, which is crazy because after somebody makes a couple of adjustments, that report's out of date. Yes. So we've brought in you know, a technology solution that will allow us to have a real-time ATB that can be sorted by payer. You know, we're meeting every 2 weeks. We're going to keep it going after the project's done. Most hospitals have one. I've had one in other hospitals. it's a good time to get folks together and see what the progress is and see how other people are doing. We bring IT to that meeting, which is critical for us because so much of what we need to do has an IT focus, and we need IT support to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. I think it's worked well. We're definitely going to keep it going after the project.
Great.
You know, some of the directors that I have been at the hospital for 35 years, so it's, you know, stepping up and putting pressure on other people isn't something they're used to doing.
Right.
Some of the folks that are newer to the organization are used to working that way.
Right.
You know, some of the directors that I have became the director because, as I said, they were the last person standing. You know, the director died, and it's like, well, you're the next one who was hired, so you're now the director. And you know, hospitals have worked that way for years, and unfortunately, it doesn't always place the best person in the job.
Yeah.
But we are stepping up, and that's, like I said, that's one thing I like about the project plan is it does hold people accountable, because every week we're listing what we need to get done, and it can become painfully obvious if something is the third time we've talked about it and there's been no movement at all. And that's kind of, you know, one of the places that we have the holdup right now is IT, which is
you're not alone.
and we're not alone, and that's not a bad thing, because at least that points us, and what IT has done is, rather than be reactive, is said, let's reach out to some other outside resources that we can bring in to help us get these projects completed, rather than say, we're swamped, we can't do it, end of conversation.
Nice.
So we've got a brand new director of IT who's got that philosophy, and I'm supportive from the financial standpoint. Obviously, it's going to cost me some money, but we need to get it done.
So you think it was a good decision to bring us in?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.